Άλλο παιδες. Άλλο παιδες. Τι κάνετε? Άλλο παιδες. Δηλαδή θα δούμε μαζί το πρώτο hands-on του Dualsense σήμερα ή και του PS5. Θα δούμε. Αλλού. Για σου φίλε, Mr. Fire, τι κάνεις φίλε? Ο 102 το από τώρα. Πάμε Titan γαμάμε. Πάμε λοιπόν. Σήμερα θα δούμε το πρώτο hands-on του PlayStation 5. Είναι το Dualsense hands-on, το οποίο βλέπετε εδώ πέρα. Σε λίγο παιδιά θα δούμε πώς θα φαίνεται το Dualsense. Για πρώτη φορά θα το δούμε εν δράση και μπορεί να δούμε και το PS4 και το PS5 εν δράση επίσης. Εγώ δεν πιστεύω ότι θα δούμε μόνο το Dualsense και εγώ πιστεύω ότι θα δούμε και την κόνσολα μαζί. Παιδιά δεν ξέρω αν θα κάνω σήμερα live Ghost of Tsushima, γιατί καταρχάς δεν το έχω εγκαταστήσει ακόμα. Κατά δεύτερον δεν ξέρω πόση ώρα θα μου πάρει αυτό το live. Μπορεί πιο αργά σήμερα το βράδυ, δεν είμαι σίγουρος. Αλλά σίγουρα αύριο το πρωί και έχουμε ακόμα 9 λεπτά. 9 λεπτά. Καλά είμαι Wii. Λοιπόν. Για να κάνω και switch, θα βάλω ένα post. Αχ, θα μου πέσει το κινητό. Πήρα το Ghost of Tsushima. Δεν ξέρω αν το είδε που το ανέβασα στο Instagram. Που θα κάνουμε τρομερά live. Sorry. Sorry, παιδιά, να γράψω εδώ πέρα. Παιδιά, κάνει πάρα πολύ ζέστη σήμερα, Κάνει υπερβολικά γαμημένη ζέστη σήμερα. Ευχαριστώ για το subscribe, φίλε μου. Και το 32 άτομα. Λάθος. Πετάμε δωρεά αυτό. Πετάμε αποστολή. Κοινοποίηση. Οκ, είμαστε έτοιμοι. Περιμένουμε. Καλησπέρα εσύ από το βιβλίο και έχει δροσούλα. Μπράβο φίλε που είσαι στη δροσούλα σου. Συγχαρητήρια. Η Λιτίνα λέει πως θα πας. Καλά τα πάω φίλε μου. Καλά και το μεγαλύτερο και ανεμιστήρας. Χιχι. Γεια σου φίλε Ούζου. Πώς να νιώθω φίλε. Καλά νιώθω. Τελικά ποιο game μου έστειλαν για τον Nintendo Switch? Μου έστειλαν το Luigi, μου έστειλαν 2 games. Βασικά, μου έστειλαν το Paper Mario και πήρα και το Luigi's Mansion 3, παιδιά. Θα χεστούμε στα live. SVTube, καλησπέρα φίλε. Έλα, 5 λεπτά, 6 λεπτά ακόμα. Βοηθάει. Ηλία, θα δοκιμάσω το F1 2 και τέτοιο συνέμπε. Ναι, παιδιά, θα σας κάνω βίντεο. Νίκη Τζινοπούλου, σκάω, παρομοίως. Όχι, δεν πήρα το Zelda τελικά Wii. Θα το πάρω και το Zelda Wii. Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Καλησπέρα σε όλα τα παιδιά. Έχουμε 5 λεπτά ακόμα ως την αποκάλυψη. Να βάλω λίγη μουσικούλα, μην είμαστε μουγκοί. Πού είναι η μουσική μου? Where the fuck is my music? Έτσι λίγη μουσικούλα, λίγη μουσικούλα. Έκτος το PS4 ήδη είναι πολύ φθηνό το PS4, παιδιά. Οκ, φίλε μου, Αναστασία Γκαγκάρη. Καλησπέρα κύριε Κρίστοφερ 91, Κοσμάτο 91. Γεια σου φίλε Fast TV 7. Για Xbox Series X θα έχουμε το event την άλλη Τρίτη 23, παιδιά. 4 λεπτά ακόμα, 4 λεπτά ακόμα, πάμε. 4 λεπτά ακόμα, πάμε. Επειδή πρόγραμμα κάνεις τα βίντεο σου, τα κάνω με το Sony Vegas Pro, όλα. My man, are you Russian? No man, I am Greek. Salam alaikum. Ηλία, πόσο θα κάνει το PS5 περίπου, παιδιά? Νομίζω ότι θα κάνει περίπου κάνα 500. Να δούμε τι θα γίνει σήμερα σε αυτό το event. Επειδή λένε ότι θα δείξουν μόνο το Dualsense, αλλά εγώ πιστεύω, παιδιά, ότι θα δείξουν και άλλα πράγματα. Δεν νομίζω ότι θα δείξουν μόνο το Dualsense. Ναι, είναι τέλειο το Luigi's Mansion, παιδιά, θα γελάσουμε πάρα πολύ. Αλάικουμ σαλάμ. I am Greek man, I am not Muslim. PC ή κονσόλα και τα δύο. Οπότε θα δούμε Ghost of Tsushima, παιδιά. Το game το έχω το game έτοιμο, αλλά δεν το έχω εγκαταστήσει. Μαλακία. 205 άτομα, 217 άτομα και κερδίζουν. Πάμε Titan. 224 άτομα. Όχι, δεν κάνει η Sony Live, το κάνει ο Jeff Keighley με το μεγάλο τον πυροκύλι. Αυτός, φίλε. Αυτός κάνει το live. Για να δούμε. Πάμε, 2 λεπτά. 2 λεπτά ακόμα, παιδιά. 2 λεπτά για τις αποκαλύψεις. PS5 Day One, παιδιά, δεν είμαι σίγουρος. Δεν ξέρω. Η Sony δεν νομίζω να μου στείλει τίποτα. Η Sony με γράφει στα παπάρια της κανονικά, οπότε δεν ξέρω τι θα κάνω. Δεν ξέρω αν νομίζω πως η Microsoft θα μου στείλει το Xbox Series X, νομίζω, αλλά η Sony δεν θα μου στείλει τίποτα. Το PS5 θα πρέπει να το πάρω με τα χεράκια μου. Δυστυχώς. Σαλάμι αλέκου, ναι, σωστά. Ζούμε μεγάλες στιγμές. Θα μου στείλει το Wii. «30 δευτερόλεπτα, Παναγία μου, πάμε!» Γίνεται νομίζω να τα ρίξει στα games στο games, παιδιά. 10 δευτερόλεπτα. 10 δευτερόλεπτα. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ω! 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 Ω!
This right here is the PlayStation 5 Dualsense. Yes, powered up because we are going to go hands-on with the PlayStation 5.
Ω!
Hey guys, it's Jeff Keighley, and this is a
ps5.
special Summer Game Fest stream. Really a special year for all of us that new consoles are coming out, and a lot of people have wondered what PlayStation 5 is going to play like. A big part of that is the controller and the experience of playing games, especially because this controller is a little different than the traditional DualShock. And I've got that here, my PS4 Pro DualShock. This is a form factor that really has been around since the original PlayStation, in various different forms. There weren't analog sticks back then. But the DualSense introduces a couple new innovations, and having played it here for a couple of hours, I'll kind of summarize those for you before we get into some gameplay. The big things that I've noticed are the adaptive triggers, the L2 and R2. So outside of the game environment, you just kind of when you're in a game, there's actually the possibility to create tension points or haptics inside of these adaptive triggers. So imagine pulling this down and feeling the pressure from a bow in a bow and arrow, or even in an action game, pulling this down and feeling active reload points, where designers can actually create tension points as you pull this down at certain percentages, and give the player feedback. So I think that's a unique sensation that is going to have a pretty big impact, I think, longer term on gameplay. The other thing inside of this controller are the haptics. So PlayStation had rumble for quite some time, but the haptics add another layer to the experience. It's not just sort of one rumble point, so it's not just kind of on or off. There's the ability to create other sensations, as you'll see in this demo I'm going to show you of Astrobot's Playroom. You'll see what ice feels like, what sand feels like, and different surfaces. The other thing that I've noticed is that the speaker in the DualSense, it feels like it has much more range than the PlayStation 4 speaker, and it often directly ties into what's happening with the haptics.
Μιλάει για το μικρόφωνο, το οποίο είναι, λέει, πολύ καλύτερο από την πριν, και πλέον έχει τη δυνατότητα απλά να μιλάτε, ρε παιδί μου, στο χειριστήριο έτσι, δηλαδή να παίζετε και να μιλάτε κανονικά, χωρίς να έχετε συνδέσει απάνω κάποιο
headsetάκι. The sort of harmony between the controller sound and what's happening in the PlayStation 5 is really, really unique and interesting. So those are the things I noticed in it. Some people have asked also about, like, what's the weight of it? What does it feel like? Compared to the DualShock for PS4, it definitely weighs a little bit more, but doesn't feel substantially heavier. And if anything, I think it actually has a little more heft to it. In a good way, that it feels more structured, and there's more sort of inside of it. So centered, but
λέει ότι έχει πιο καλύτερο κέντρο βάρους από το PS4.
Let's talk about what we're going to play today. What we're going to check out is Astro's Playroom, and that is a game that comes packed with the PlayStation 5. It is pre-installed on the system. You don't even have to download it. And it's not just like a tutorial demo of 15 minutes. It's a multi-hour game. We're going to get to play one section of it today. And I think the reason we're playing this is because it comes with the system and it really showcases the controller. So, of course, everyone wants to see what Horizon Forbidden West looks like on the system. And this is a demo that is focused, I think, more on the controller and the haptics, the adaptive triggers, versus trying to showcase the power of the SSD or,
αν δεν έχουμε ακουστικά πάνω και έχει συνδέσει στην τηλεόραση το ps5, θα ακούς τους φίλους από τα αρχεία της τηλεόρασης. Ή, όχι, ψέματα, μπορείς να τους ακούς και από το controller να μιλάνε.
with Astro's Playroom. So let's call it up here and go hands-on live.
Ω, παίζει live ο Πούστης.
You can even hear the sound of my bot walking around.
Α. Ω.
So full 6 degrees of motion as always. Looks like I'm going to have to flick up here on the pad to release my bot. And we are in CPU Plaza. The thing about this game, as you will see in this demo, there are a lot of references to the history of PlayStation. So Cooling Springs is the area that is open on Jeff's demo of this game. And we are going to jump in here and just go through this experience with the bot. All right, so we're on the beach here. There are beach balls you can play around with. There are some bots enjoying life, sunning themselves. Bot on vacation here. Should I disrupt them? How rude of me, right? And then we're going to head on over here into this sandstorm created by, I guess, these CPU fans. And again, when you get into this environment, I'm static here, but you hear the crisp sounds of sand coming at you.
Ακούει τον ήχο της άμμου από το controller, λέει.
From going over this sand environment, and then you push further in. Here we are. And look! The rubber ducks are back! Remember the duck demos? PlayStation 3, I think that was? Rubber ducks? Alright, so I have this suit, and I'm gonna push up on the controller. This is the frog suit. And this frog suit shows off the adaptive controllers. So I'm going to move my controller left and right. And
είδατε, κουνάει το χειριστήριο έτσι και κουνιέται και το ρομποτάκι.
I've never felt something like this before in a console controller. As you push down on the controller, there's tension now in these adaptive triggers, and it's programmable. One thing that I think is really fun about this demo is it makes you think of how these technologies are going to be used in other games. So you think of Ratchet and Clank. I mean, obviously a lot of this gameplay similar in style to a Ratchet game. So you think of all those crazy graphics that we saw on the stream, but with this type of control and this kind of fun. So now we've made it to the frozen pool area. And here, we're going to pull down on this. And again, you see this ice, but you hear a storm literally inside of the DualSense. And sort of a small little rumble from the haptics. Little ice shards here. As you go past every ice shard, you hear the little tink of the ice shard. I wonder if I put this up to the mic, this is not ASMR, this is PSMR. Do you guys hear that?
Κάνει ASMR με το controller. What the fuck?
Got a checkpoint here. Now this one, you actually have to blow into the controller.
Φυσάει στο controller για να γυρίσει τον ανεμιστήρα, ρε.
Again, this one, you pull back, just like a bow and arrow almost, and
ένα PS3.
Unlocked a PlayStation 3. I have a PlayStation 5.
Well,
I had a lot of fun playing with the DualSense controller and Astrobot, and I wanted to get a little more information on all things PlayStation. So joining me now is the worldwide head of marketing at PlayStation, Eric Lempell. Eric, how we doing?
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got to go hands-on with PS5, which was a nice surprise this week. I was not expecting it, but you guys are full of surprises for PS5, it looks like.
Yeah, and you're one of the first to actually touch the DualSense outside of the company and the developers.
Αυτός στα αριστερά είναι ο πρώτος που άγγιξε το DualSense. Και τώρα αυτός στα δεξιά θα μας πει επιπλέον πληροφορίες λίγα για το PS5. Για να δούμε, παιδιά. Θα σας μεταφράζω εγώ.
The gameplay feels like a whole other dimension to the experience with what's happening with the adaptive triggers and the haptics and everything. So it was one of those things that I was playing Astrobot, but imagining all the other games, how that's going to impact the experience. And one thing I'd heard is that demo or version of it, you guys actually shared with developers.
That's true. So what you played is a part of a title called Astro's Playroom. It was in our show a few weeks ago. and it's
Αυτό το
installed on
Astro's
every
Playroom θα το
PlayStation
πάρω
5.
για το PS5,
So
δεν
everyone who
υπάρχει
buys a
περίπτωση.
PlayStation 5 will get this
Θα
game,
κάνουμε επικά live.
and it really shows off a lot of the features of the platform, but really does a great job of showing all the benefits of the DualSense controller. So what we did is, early on, we had another version of the title that we took around to the developers that were engaged in PlayStation 5 development and showed them what was possible with a title. And it's been a great example, and it's really opened up people's minds to how they can use this new device and really the new features of the controller. But I would say when people get their PlayStation 5, that should probably be one of the first things they do, is just jump in there and experience this, because as you've seen, it's pretty special.
No, we've been using the same DualShock,
Nice.
similar kind of form factor of DualShock for many, many generations, and obviously adding analog sticks and rumble and things like that, and the touchpad. But this feels like, it's a bit of a redesign, but I really like how it feels in my hands. And I imagine for PlayStation, when you were conceiving a PS5 and Mark Cerny was architecting it, I imagine the controller and a lot of those innovations were kind of right there at the beginning as something that you wanted to put into the system.
It's true. As we've said many times with PlayStation 5, it's a brand new generation, and we believe in generations. So we want to evolve every part of the experience. And the controller is really the most intimate part of the experience. It's the extension of the player. So, we thought a lot about this. And one of the things we could have done is just iterate on the DualShock. We've done that for many years. The gamers absolutely love the DualShock. They tell us it's the best controller we've ever made, the latest edition. But we thought, no, let's go a step further. Let's see how a new generation can express a whole new feeling. And that's where the DualSense came about. So early on, it was the plan to evolve the experience. And, there are many parts of that experience, but this is a really unique part that truly takes a step forward in gaming.
You mentioned you believe in generations. I guess it's a bit of a controversial opinion to some people about this idea that, generations are going to sort of break with the past, right?
Αυτός που μιλάει στα δεξιά είναι από τη Sony. Ο άλλος είναι ο Τζεφίλη, ο δημοσιογράφος.
Virtue of the PlayStation promise is that there is this sort of, break from the past, a new generation with a new console, games optimized for that system, versus kind of working across, multiple devices and multiple generations. Can you maybe give us a little bit more perspective on the controller being a part of that, but that view, which is obviously counter, we've seen Xbox saying something different around that. Why is that so important to PlayStation as a principle of the sort of the architecture of PlayStation 5?
Well, specifically for us, a big pillar of our company is innovation. It's a pillar of Sony Corporation. It's also a pillar of the PlayStation company. And, we are always trying to push the boundaries. We push the boundaries of play. That's what we say internally. We want to excite gamers. We want to deliver new experiences. So as we go into a new piece of hardware, it really has to check the box on a lot of different areas to fulfill those promises. And we a lot of developers about this. We've gone out there, we've talked to people about what they want in a next generation console, and really to do that, you've got to deliver a lot.
Nintendo Wii,
and I think what's really
νομίζω ότι
unique
πολλές
about the
πάντες έχουν
DualSense
πάρει από το
is that it
Wii.
plays into another one of your
Από το
senses.
Nintendo Wii, το
But we're
PS4
covering a lot of
ειδικά.
the senses with PlayStation 5. I mean, first and foremost, I'd say in gaming, for the history of gaming,
Μπα, νομίζω ότι
the
θα
first
το δούμε
sense
μόνο σε indie games, σε στυλ, όπως αυτό με τον Astro.
Αλλά εντάξει, with every generation, the graphics improve, and with PlayStation 5, we're taking a leap forward there. And then there's sounds, and we're introducing a new form of 3D audio, which will be really powerful, no matter what you're playing, no matter how you're playing. And then the next piece is touch. And, touch has been around for a while. We've had force feedback. Of course, we've had different types of force feedback and rumble in the DualShock, but this takes that to a whole new level. Similar to what gamers have expected from other generational shifts, this brings it to a whole new place. I mean, it's haptic feedback. It's these adaptive dynamic triggers. I mean, something no one's ever experienced before. And it really brings you closer to the game. And, the biggest joy for us is putting this in the hands of developers, because developers want to push the technology as far as it can go to tell stories and really bring the gamer into their worlds. And we believe, all of these things combined, as well as all the other great PS5 features we spoke about, really lead to a next generation experience. And in many cases, we can't take everybody with us from previous consoles into that experience. You need new hardware, you need new devices to experience what these developers want you to experience.
And I imagine, PS4, there'll still be games coming out for it. I mean, it's not like the pipeline stops there, but there's this sort of new set of experiences that will be exclusive to PS5, right?
Exactly. PlayStation 4 is a big part of everything we do, and it will continue to be a big part of everything we do. There's a lot more to come on PlayStation 4. I think most recently we're seeing some of the greatest titles this generation released in recent weeks. And again, PlayStation 5 is the next generation product, but again, we've got a lot to come for people on PlayStation 4. Still a ton of life in that product.
When I was playing Astros, one of the things that my mind started racing with was thinking of how this is going to apply to a game like Ratchet, because sort of similar gameplay style, but with the audio, the speaker in the DualSense, and the haptics and the adaptive triggers. One feature we haven't talked much about is the SSD and that sort of input-output on the device, and how that's going to allow a lot of interesting things. And when I saw the event in June, that Ratchet trailer just blew me away with like jumping between those worlds so quickly. And could you maybe talk a bit about like that feature, which I didn't really, Astro's not a game I think that really is needs the SSD to function the way it is. Can you talk a bit about the SSD and how that's going to impact the experience?
Sure. And this ties back nicely to your question about generations, because when you look at a game like Ratchet, and we've talked about a lot of different features today, and as you mentioned, we haven't mentioned SSD. That is another thing that will make the whole gaming experience different. It'll make it better, but it also allows the developers to do new things. It isn't just about faster loading time. And you take a great developer like Insomniac, and they found a way to say, okay, look, here's a game that can only be made on PlayStation 5. On this generation, using this technology, a lot of what you saw in the show, jumping through those different worlds instantly, just can't be done in most cases. And it needs new hardware, it needs new power. So that's something we're looking forward to. I mean, all of these things come together. You combine that with 3D audio, with the controller, ray tracing. I mean, these are great experiences, and these developers know how to harness every piece of those features to really bring you a unique experience. And that really speaks to what next gen is for us.
So that Ratchet game, like, couldn't be done on PS4. I guess if you did it, you'd have to fundamentally change the architecture and the gameplay of it.
You would have to change it. You would have to change the way the game works. It would be a different experience. According to everything that Insomniac have told us, this hardware allows them to deliver on this vision. They could not make it. If they did, it would just be different. You would be playing a different type of game, and the experience would be different.
Yeah, no, I have to say, after playing with the controller, DualSense, and the experience, I definitely got a sense of where you're taking things moving forward. And let's talk a bit about that, because you guys had the big event, so many great titles. I think gamers are very excited about PS5. I think we saw even this week there were rumors that pre-orders were happening and the Twitter lit up. I don't know where these rumors start, but I have to ask you, like,
για ένα gamer δεν έχασες κάτι ψηλό πράγμα, αλλά εντάξει.
Like, when can we expect to get our PS5?
No, definitely not now.
Μπράβο, είναι αυτό που λέει ο Μιχάλης, μόνο με streaming.
I got a message from someone saying people are lining up at stores, and we had no idea why. So I think it's safe to say, of your viewers, we'll let you know when pre-order will happen. We will let you know. It's not going to happen with a minute's notice. We're going to, at some point, let you know when you can pre-order a PlayStation 5. So please don't feel like you have to go run out and line up anywhere until you receive official notice on how that'll work. So I don't know how that happened. Don't know who did it. Wasn't us though. So
well, but look, I mean, as a marketer, I'm sure it's great to see there's that much anticipation for your product.
Oh yeah, no, look, we absolutely love all of the PlayStation fans, and we're thrilled that they're excited about this product. And again, with this product, we're trying to bring them experiences they didn't think were possible. And you're experiencing.
Τίποτα, παιδιά, δεν λένε τίποτα τόσο. Το λένε για τους χρόνους φόρτωσης του PS5. Λένε ότι ο κόσμος κάνει απαλαβώς για το PS5 και ότι το περιμένει σαν τρελός.
Given the current situation in the world, we would love to be out there having gamers start to touch the product. We would have done that in normal years. we can't do that. So it's really hard. I know a lot of people watching this, and they're going to really wonder, like, what are they talking about?
They're going to be angry at me saying, why did he get one?
Exactly. Why did Jeff get to do it? But I think it's really hard to describe. I mean, you've heard us talk about this, but now you've gone through the experience, and you can see it's different.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm excited that you're in this worldwide role for PlayStation now to kind of unify, the messaging around the world. And there was a new tagline for PlayStation that showed up in the event in June, which I think was the first time people had seen it. And can you maybe tell us a bit about this new kind of tagline, which is global for PlayStation?
Certainly, and thanks for noticing that. That was actually the last bit of the show. That was the last thing you saw on the show, was this new line, which is Play Has No Limits. And as you said, we've known each other a long time, and you've known how the PlayStation organization was structured. And in the past, we were really separate groups around the world that all worked together and laddered up to a parent
το είπε κοροϊδευτικά
company.
διότι είπε και κάτι άλλο από κάτω άλλο.
And we've seen great benefits from that in many
Είπε
parts of
ότι
the
φαίνεται ότι
organization. And so
βαριέμαι.
another part of this was the marketing piece. And really, if you look at great brands around the world, they all feel similar, or at least just to great degree similar.
Δείξτε μας για κάτι παραπάνω. Δείξτε μας και δείξτε μας το UI.
If they're good, they stand the test of time and they stick with the brand for a long time. So this was a hard job for the team. We went back and we looked at this and we thought,
δεν έγινε το τρέλερ του GTX. Σταμάτα builds, power, μίλες μπουρδες, φίλε.
And at the same time live up to our ambition as a company, as a brand. And that was Play Has No Limits. That's what we believe. There's many different ways to interpret it, so I'm going to leave it to all the viewers to interpret it the way they like. But, for us, it is really about speaking to innovation and speaking about new experiences that you can have.
New experience.
You never expected. And really, it's how we push ourselves.
Έβαλε μάρα από τον Σέρνη,
έμαθα.
Κοίταξε, δεν είναι σαν τον Σέρνη βαρετή, αλλά δεν είναι κάτι το οποίο δεν ξέρουμε. Δηλαδή αυτό στα δεξιά αυτή τη στιγμή κολογλύφει το σπιτάκι του, κολογλύφει τη Sony. Λογικό βέβαια. Καλησπέρα Γιάννη Τσολέβα, φίλε.
You couldn't, because there were a ton of them.
I was going to say, I know greatness awaits, but beyond that, it's like, I don't even...
So, there were a lot of them, and it, that's why we really wanted to get this together. And of course, the line will be localized.
Was it for the players, I think, or something in the UK, maybe?
For the players, exactly. It was the line that was used across most parts of Europe. But there were
το PS5 controller είναι λίγο σαν τον controller του Xbox.
Solidifies the brand. Also, look and feel of the brand is changing.
Ανεπόμενος πολύ σε Dualsense, hands-on, έλα μωρέ, θα μπορούσαν να δείξουν και κάτι παραπάνω. Και εξάλλου, φίλε, να σου πω κάτι, τι ανυπόμονος πολύ και μαλακίες. Μπαίνουμε στον Αύγουστο και σε 2 μήνες το μηχάνημα θα κάνει launch. Τι πάει να πει ανυπόμονος? Πότε θα μας πούνε τιμή, πότε θα πούνε την ημερομηνία της κυκλοφορίας, πότε θα πούνε πιο πολλά για το μηχάνημα? Κάτσε ρε φίλε, κάτσε. Τι πάει να πει ανυπομονησία? Είμαστε 2 με 3 μήνες πριν να πιούμε από την πηγή νερό. Πάρτε το χαμπάρι.
We'll talk about it at some point. Right now, it's, as you mentioned,
ευχαριστώ Γιάννη Τσολέβα.
The unit that we've showed out. So, but we'll talk about it at some point.
All right. Well, we know there'll be 2 of them, the all-digital one as well, coming out, and we are excited to see what's in store for PlayStation.
Και τον έκανες hidden, Dragulfi.
It's an exciting year for the industry that these new consoles are coming out. I never thought there'd be a console launch in the middle of this. I would never think my first hands-on would be in my own place with a PS5 controller.
Περιμένουν την τελευταία στιγμή, βασικά ξέρετε κάτι. Περιμένουν και τη Microsoft να κάνει το δικό της το event την άλλη την εβδομάδα.
This holiday season, Eric Lempell, great to have you with us, and thanks for giving us a little bit of hope and excitement this year about PS5. I think it's all something we need. And
θα δούμε Γιάννη Τσολέβα, έχω πολλά πράγματα να κάνω.
Thanks, Jeff. It was great speaking with you as always.
What? 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 Τέλος! Τέλος! Ένα μισάωρο! Ρε! 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 Τέλος. Όχι. What? Αυτό ήταν stream. Βρε, έχεις το 25 λεπτά event. Είναι ηλίθιοι. Είναι ηλίθιοι. 25 λεπτά event. Ρε παιδιά, 25 λεπτά event. Ρε! Καλά. Καλά stream. Καλά, καλά. Λεπούλ. Μαλάκα, μπορούσε να δείξει πάρα πολλά πράγματα. Προσέξτε. Μπορούσε να μας είχε δείξει το Dualsense σε πιο κοντινά πλάνα. Δεν το έκανε. Απλά το έκανε για να γίνει τόρος. Μπράβο, 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 μπράβο. Όντως, εγώ αυτό θα το έλεγα βίντεο. Gamer, έχεις απόλυτο δίκιο. Δηλαδή, ρε παιδιά, να με συγχωρείτε πάρα πολύ. 25 λεπτά μετρημένα με το ρολόι ακριβώς. Είδαμε μόνο το Dualsense, έπαιξε λίγο αυτός ο μαλάκας με το Dualsense. Και κατά τα άλλα, έπαιξε λίγο και το παιχνίδι και μετά μιλούσε με τον άλλο τον Μπάμια. Δηλαδή, ρε, πόσο αντιεπαγγελματικοί μαλάκες είναι. Δηλαδή, Παναγία μου, για να βάλω λίγη μουσικούλα. Ναι, παιδιά, ήταν βασικά clickbait. Ήταν βασικά clickbait από τη Sony, τίποτα άλλο. Σου λέει, έλα λέει να δούμε λίγο αυτό το DualSense, να σας το δείξουμε και λοιπά και το ένα το άλλο. Μπράβο, ωραίο bait από τη Sony, μας τα ήσουν ψίχουλα, ρε μαλακά, έλεος. Ναι, το μοναδικό καινούργιο είναι που είδαμε το DualSense από πίσω. Και του φυσάς, του κάνεις φου και γυρίζεις ανεμόμυλους και ακούς ήχους και λοιπά και το άλλο. Αλλά δεν έδειξε πράγματα, παιδιά, τα οποία δεν τα έχουμε δει τέλος πάντων και στο DualShock το κανονικό. Την παπαλάμπρα να βάλε, δεν την έχω, φίλε. Πω, ξεφτύλα, παιδιά. Στις 23 του μηνός έχουμε το event του Xbox. Αλλά έλεος, αυτό ήταν πολύ ξεφτύλα. Δηλαδή δεν μπορείς να δίνεις μόνο 25 λεπτά, να δίνεις μόνο το controller. Που οκ, καλό το controller, μου άρεσε που το είδαμε hands-on. Αλλά ρε φίλε, ξέρετε τι σημαίνει αυτός. Αυτός επειδή έχει το controller, έχει ήδη σπίτι του το καθήκη, έχει και PlayStation 5. Έχει ήδη PlayStation 5 στο καθήκη του και το στείλε τζάμπα. Εμείς θα το πάρουμε τζάμπα. Όχι, κύριε, εμείς θα το πληρώσουμε κανονικά, σαν τα κορόιδα. Αλλά αυτός εκεί ο Μπάμιας το στέλνει τζάμπα. Όντως, και δεν μας είπανε και τίποτα το καινούριο. Η Sony είναι γαμάτη, η Sony έχει γρήγορο SSD. Τα παιχνίδια φορτώνουν πιο γρήγορα με τον SSD της Sony κλπ. Ναι, όντως, και είδα μόνο μία βιντεοκλήση, τίποτα άλλο, σωστά. 23 Ιουλίου, παιδιά, το Xbox event. Θα ετοιμάσω και το live να είναι από τώρα έτοιμο. Γιατί θα δείξουν exclusive και λογικά θα δείξουν και το Halo Infinite, θα δείξουν πάρα πολλά πράγματα. Μπορεί να δούμε και trailer GTA 6, δεν είναι σίγουρο, παιδιά, 100%. Πες τα, Βασίλη, πες τα. Βασικά ξέρετε τι συμβαίνει. Απλά είναι ότι ο κορονοϊός εγώ δεν ξέρω αν ο κορονοϊός έχει στουκάρει και τις δύο τις εταιρείες ή αν αυτά τα κάνουν επίτηδες, επειδή η μία εταιρεία περιμένει την κίνηση της άλλης. Αυτό. Γεια σου ρε Παρασκευά Κούμαρη, τι κάνεις, φίλε? Απαράδεκτον! Εγώ θέλω Red Dead Redemption. Και εγώ, φίλε μου, θέλω Red Dead Redemption Remake. Παίξε Fordor με τον Alex, καλύτερα θα είναι. Παιδιά, βαριέμαι, θα το κλείσω και μπορεί μετά πιο αργά. Θα βάλω βασικά το Ghost of Tsushima να κάνει ένα install στο PS4 και μπορεί μετά πιο βράδυ κατά τις 9 να κάνουμε live. Οκ. This is why I hate clickbait. You are right. You are right. Αυτό, και εγώ νομίζω ότι τα περί κορονοϊού είναι δικαιολογίες των εταιριών, γιατί να σου πω κάτι, τα μηχανήματα ήταν έτοιμα από πριν. Πολλά από τα games ήταν έτοιμα από πριν ή τουλάχιστον τα είχαν ξεκινήσει από πριν. Εντάξει, δεν ξέρουμε τι θα γίνει με τον κορονοϊό στους επόμενους μήνες. Θα έχουμε πάλι καραντίνες μαλακίες, αλλά και όμως και οι δύο οι εταιρείες, και η Sony και η Microsoft, κάνουν σαν τρελές για να κυκλοφορήσουν και τις δύο τις κονσόλες, και το PS5 και το Xbox Series X, κανονικά αυτά τα Χριστούγεννα. Δεν τους βλέπεις να βάζουν φρένο, να λένε στο παιδιά, θα καθυστερήσουμε λόγω του κορονοϊού. Άμα ήταν αυτό, παιδιά, θα το είχαν κάνει από πριν, αλλά δεν κάνουν τίποτα τέτοιο. Απλά η εταιρεία περιμένει την κίνηση της άλλης, ειδικά όσον αφορά το θέμα της τιμής. Λένε ότι στις 23 ότι μπορεί να δούμε και την τιμή του νέου Xbox, αλλά είναι λες και δύο οι εταιρείες τώρα του παίζουν κρυφτούλι. Ποια θα πει πρώτη την τιμή, ποια θα γίνει το πιο φθηνό μηχάνημα, ποια τέλος πάντων. Ναι, όντως, η Sony λέει από 6 εκατομμύρια κονσόλες ετοιμάζει 10 εκατομμύρια κονσόλες. Λοιπόν, τέλος πάντων, παιδιά, εγώ είμαι ακόμα ελπιδοφόρος. Εγώ ελπίζω τα πράγματα μην είναι τόσο πολύ χάλια. Μάλλον βάζω το κορονοϊό για ξεκάρφωμα. Γιατί δεν κάνουν DLC το Redemption 1 για το 2, επειδή τα δύο games δεν είναι συμβατά. Θα κάνω μήνυση, λέει ο Raccoon Gamer. Και εγώ πιστεύω ότι το Xbox θα τα δείξει όλα στο δικό του live, επειδή κάτι πρέπει να κάνει για το PS5. Ό,τι και τα λέμε για το PS5, παιδιά, έχει τα πιο δυνατά και τα καλύτερα exclusives παγκοσμίως. Το Xbox κάτι πρέπει να κάνει για να ανταπεξέλθει. Εάν δεν τα καταφέρει, πάπαλα. Θα μείνω με το PC μου εγώ. Δεν με νοιάζει. Έχω πισάρα που μπορεί να τα τρέξει όλα. Θα μείνω με το PC μου εγώ. Και θα πάρω το PS5 όταν βγει το πρώτο καλό exclusive. Άιντε. Sony. Πού έχουν χώσει τον κόλλο σου Sony. Το Luigi's Mansion ή το Paper Mario. Στα φίλε, πρέπει να τα βάλω και αυτά να κάνουν ένα install. Υπάρχει βίντεο που το έχει ο άλλος στο PS5 controller. Με αυτό είδαμε πριν, φίλε Πανάγιωτη Κάπα. Για να δούμε, έχει κοντά εδώ. Για να δούμε, υπάρχει, παιδιά, στο YouTube αυτό. Για να δω. Υπάρχει αυτό, παιδιά. This DualSense controller.
PlayStation 5 DualSense in my hand.
Βλάκα. Jeff Keighley με το μεγάλο στον πυροκύλι. Για να δω. Να δούμε το να το δούμε τουλάχιστον πάλι από την αρχή. Να το δω είναι. Για να δούμε, παιδιά. Κάτσε να κλείσω τη μουσική πάλι. Για να δούμε, παιδιά, εδώ. Περνάμε από τα 14 λεπτά. Να το.
This right here is the PlayStation 5 DualSense. Yes, it's powered up because we are going to go hands-on with the PlayStation 5. Hey guys, it's Jeff Keighley, and this is a special Summer Game Fest stream. Really a special year for all of us that new consoles are coming out. And a lot of people have wondered what PlayStation 5 is going to play like. A big part of that is the controller and the experience of playing games, especially because this controller is a little different than the traditional DualShock. And I've got that here, my PS4 Pro DualShock. This is a form factor that really has been around since the original PlayStation.
Ναι, αυτός είναι ο Jeff Keighley που κάνει αυτό το game awards.
But the DualSense introduces a couple new innovations, and having played it here for a couple of hours, I'll kind of summarize those for you before we get into some gameplay. The big things that I've noticed are the adaptive triggers, the L2 and R2.
Να, εδώ το βλέπουμε το controller από πίσω, αλλά κράτα το πιο ψηλά βρε παπάρα.
Pull these down like any controller, but when you're in a game, there's actually the possibility to create tension points or haptics inside of these adaptive triggers. So imagine pulling this down and feeling the pressure from a bow
για το
or even in an action game, pulling this down and feeling active reload points where designers can actually create tension points as you pull this down at certain percentages and give the player feedback.
Εν τω μεταξύ το κουφό, όποιος θέλει απλά το controller και μόνο το PS5, το PS5 controller πέσει να είναι συμβατό και με το PC, αλλά δεν το έχουν επιβεβαιώσει ακόμα.
Inside of this controller are the haptics. So
και Astro Γιάννη Τσόλεμπα μου.
PlayStation had Rumble for quite some time, but the haptics add another layer to the experience. It's not just sort of one Rumble point, so it's not just kind of on or off. There's the ability to create
δεν ξέρω τον Pixel
Consent εγώ. In this demo I'm going to show you of Astrobot's Playroom, you'll see what ice feels like, what sand feels like, and different surfaces. The other thing that I've noticed is that the speaker in the DualSense, it feels like it has much more range than the PlayStation 4 speaker, and it often
λέει το ηχείο είναι πολύ καλύτερο.
What's happening.
Να το αυτό, να το build-in το microphone, να το.
Much more variety in the types of sounds coming out of the speaker, and I'm sure every game will use it differently or may not use it as much, but at least in this demo you really do sense that there's a lot going on with the haptics and there's sound that ties into it, and then when you combine that with the Tempest 3D engine in PlayStation 5 for the speakers, the sort of harmony between the controller sound and what's happening in the PlayStation 5 is really, really unique and interesting. So those are the things I noticed in it. Some people have asked also about like what's the weight of it, what does it feel like? Compared to the DualShock for PS4, it definitely weighs a little bit more, but doesn't feel substantially heavier. And if anything, I think it actually has a little more heft to it, in a good way, that it feels more structured. And there's more sort of inside of it. Centered, but definitely feels good to me. So let's talk about what we're going to play today. What we're going to check out is Astro's Playroom, and that is the game that comes packed with the PlayStation 5. It is pre-installed on the system. You don't even have to download it. And it's not just like a tutorial demo of 15 minutes. It's a multi-hour game. We're going to get to play one section of it today. And I think the reason we're playing this is because it comes with the system and it showcases the controller. So, of course, everyone wants to see what Horizon Forbidden West looks like on the system. And this is a demo that is focused, I think, more on the controller and the haptics and the adaptive triggers versus trying to showcase the power of the SSD or, you know, the true graphics horsepower of PS5. So that's all stuff we can look forward to. We've seen those games, you know, at the event, and they look spectacular. So that's another aspect of PS5 that I'm sure hopefully we'll get to see more of in the coming weeks. But at least right now, we're going to look at the controller and how that relates to gameplay with Astro's Playroom. So let's call it up here and go hands on.
Αυτά παιδιά, κλείνω το stream λοιπόν που ήταν τόσο πολύ μικρό. Αργότερα μπορεί να streamάρω Ghost of Tsushima. Θα βάλω τώρα το game να κάνει install στο PS4 Pro. Έχω επίσης και νέα games και για Switch να κάνουμε stream, οπότε θα έχουμε μπόλικο content. Δεν ανησυχείτε καθόλου. Θα έχουμε μπόλικα games πλέον στο κανάλι. Προμηθευτικά μπόλικο πράγμα. Επίσης θα έχετε βιντεάκι αυτό το σουκού. Θα δω τι θα προλάβω να φτιάξω. Ετοιμάζω το review της οθόνης και ετοιμάζω και το review του F1. Οπότε έχω πάρα πολλή δουλειά από ό,τι καταλαβαίνετε. Αλλά παιδιά, τέλος πάντων, εδώ βλέπετε διάφορες μαλακίες δικές μου. Σας αφήνω. Τα λέμε αργότερα. Ελπίζω να μπορέσουμε μετά να στριμάρω Ghost of Tsushima. Αλλιώς θα στριμάρω αύριο 100%. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ που με είδατε και πάμε Titan. Τα λέμε παιδες.